Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leah, also known as Travel Leah, and today I'm talking about just like harassment as a female solo traveler, what you can expect, and also how I deal with it, how you guys can deal with it. So if you're interested, if you're a solo traveler now or you plan on traveling solo in the future, stay tuned because this is important information. So I have been traveling solo for, it's been like 2.5, almost 3 years now. I've only traveled solo. The past 8 months I've been traveling full-time. So I quit my job just to travel. So during that experience I have faced different types of harassment, different extremes, different levels of harassment. And so I thought it was really important to talk about, just because recently I went to Malaysia. I went to the capital, Kuala Lumpur, and I just did not have a good experience. And I talked about it on Instagram a little bit. I made a post on here a little bit, and everybody was just confused, like why, like what happened. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about, you know, some of my experiences that I've had, so what you can expect, not just being as a woman, but also as being a woman of color. Like I feel like sometimes I am definitely more of a target, I can say, because I have spoke to other travelers who aren't women of color and they have different experiences. So we're going to talk about all of that. First major place that I experienced harassment was in Egypt. Now Egypt was pretty intense. If you guys did not watch my vlog on Egypt, you can click up there somewhere and watch that vlog. The harassment there was pretty extreme. What that type of harassment looks like is a lot of people like pushing items in your face to buy, a lot of taxi drivers chasing you down the street to try and get you to get a ride from them, and it's very aggressive and they don't just give up easily. So it's like constantly in Egypt when I was there, just walking down the street, there were like literally about 4 guys surrounding me trying to either sell me something, ask me where I'm going, ask me where I'm from, ask me if I want a taxi, blah blah blah, all to try to make money off of me. It's not like, it didn't feel like dangerous in Egypt, but it was definitely like they had like a different prerogative. Like they weren't coming up to me to be nice. They saw me as a walking dollar sign immediately, and they wanted to scam me, rip me off any second. So that was one part of the harassment in Egypt. The other half of the harassment in Egypt was definitely sexual harassment, where guys every second they were catcalling you, they were staring at you, like staring at you deeply with their eyes. Like it was very uncomfortable, and they would stand very close to you and stare at you, and they would look you up and down, like very sexualized behavior to the point where you're just very, very uncomfortable. They would make sexual comments and stuff like that. So that was Egypt, and that was the most extreme situation I have been in, and I've had to deal with harassment. And that goes back to just the culture and the nature of the country, unfortunately. Like if you go into the Middle East and you know, they practice Islam, those Muslim countries, you know, men and women are not equal. Like if you're from a Western country like America, Europe, Australia, you know, I mean, we're not completely equal, but we're definitely, women definitely have more rights. We're respected 10 times more than in these other countries. So that's why whenever you travel to some of these countries where they have different religions and they have different views on the, you know, gender roles and the balance between women and men, you need to be careful and just to be prepared mentally for the harassment that you will face. And I think that's the big part, is just being prepared mentally, you know what I mean? Because I have to be honest, it's gonna happen. You're gonna be harassed as a female traveler if you're alone, if you're without a male accompanying you. And it's gonna happen. It's just about being prepared. So after Egypt, I'm actually very glad I went to Egypt, and I'm so glad I had that experience, because now I feel like any other harassment will fall below that and won't be, I know there's going to be a few places which will top Egypt, but for the most part, every other situation has been less than that experience. So I am definitely prepared for other harassments from other countries. So that brings me on to the next place that I experienced harassment. The next place I experienced harassment definitely was like in Dubai. It wasn't much, but it was just similar, but it was just like a toned down version for sure. It wasn't in the new city Dubai. There's two parts of Dubai: the newer city, which you see on Instagram and everything like that, and then there's the older part, which is called Diriyah. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly. That's the old city of Dubai. So you go up there to go to the gold souks, the spice souks, to go shopping, and yeah, you definitely get harassed up there. But it was a much toned down version, just extremely toned down. Like Egypt was a level 10, and that area in Dubai was like a 4, I'd say. So of course, again, that's a Muslim country. I haven't really experienced much harassment at all, like, until I went to Malaysia. And that brings me to the story about what happened in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, like I said, I went to KL, which is the capital. So I can't speak about Malaysia as a whole country because I did not see every part. But in KL, it was pretty aggressive, the harassment there. It started as soon as I got there. My taxi driver from the airport was just being sexual the whole time, like asking me why I'm not married, or saying they want to marry me, asking me on a date. And the next few days it was like the same thing. Every driver that I had was like, it was the same situation, sexual harassing me, making sexual comments, and just making me feel extremely uncomfortable every second. So, and it wasn't just the taxi drivers. So once I actually was roaming around KL and exploring, you know, I was going to some of the tourist places, and I was also being, you know, just stared at, like very sexual stares, and guys coming around and standing next to me, standing behind me, and making noises. And you know, like, I don't need to explain that. It was just very degrading, and that was the type of harassment in KL, and it was just too much. It was too much going on. So with that level in KL, I would say it was probably a level 6 out of 10, and I just didn't like it. So in KL, there was a large community of people from India, and then there were the Malay people, and then also other people from Asia. So yes, I did have an issue with the, I guess, if they're, I don't know if they're first generation, second generation in Malaysia, or if they're just foreigners, just came in, but they were very aggressive, and it was very uncomfortable. It was even to the point where, you know, I went out to eat at a restaurant, and the waitress was like, "Oh, are you a solo traveler?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was Malaysian, by the way, and she was just like, "Wow, it's so dangerous here. You shouldn't be here by yourself." And she said she doesn't even like to be like walking around by herself. So that was shocking to me, because I really take heed of advice that locals give me. As far as anybody else that tells me stuff, I definitely have the mindset that your experience is your own, is what you make it, you know what I mean? Everybody has a different experience. So that was like, whoa. So after that conversation, I kind of shut down, to be honest, and I just didn't have the energy to deal with it. So I just kind of hung out like at my hotel room, and I literally like went to the tourist places and came back to the room because I just didn't feel like it. So that brings me to the point of being a woman of color traveling solo, like what you can expect. A lot of cultures and people around the world, men specifically, do not respect dark-skinned women. Respecting women like is hard for them to do already, so to respect a woman of color is super hard. So in some countries, example Egypt, and that location in Dubai and in KL, I found that yes, they had a hard time giving me any type of respect, so they just didn't. So that's something that you can expect in certain countries where they just have an issue with colorism and stuff like that. Also, this is just factual. A lot of people believe that Africans are prostitutes. African women are prostitutes. And whenever they approach you, they think that you are African. If you're a woman of color, they don't know off the bat, they don't know the difference between African American or African European and African. They just think that you're African and they assume that you're a prostitute, and that is real life. That is why sometimes I believe that the experiences that I have are a little bit more aggressive than other people. So now I've given you all the information. I've shared with you my experiences. I've shared with you kind of why that might be happening in those countries and why it might be more aggressive for women of color. This is just my opinion from my experiences, what I have collected. So now that I've shared that, I will share with you how to deal with that. Before I share that, just know that I did write a detailed blog about that. The link is right here down in the description box, so you can read in more detail, like tips on how to deal with that harassment. But what I can say is, number one is you have to be very firm with these men. You have to be very firm and show them that you're not like weak and that you are not playing around with them. That's the biggest tip that I can give you, because a lot of them do see you as weak, especially if they hear your American accent. They're like, oh, silly American girl. So number one is you have to stay firm with them. You have to stay firm. What I do personally is I honestly don't even look at them. That's a big one. Don't make eye contact. Eye contact can be misinterpreted, and eye contact makes them think that they have a chance. So I just look down. Like, they'll be talking to me and they'll be like, oh, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that? And I'll just be on my phone and I'll just be like, nope, no thank you, nope, nope. And I will do that, and I won't even acknowledge them. So that has been really helpful. That works out a lot with me. You just can't be really nice and friendly, to be honest. And that's hard for me because that's just my nature, is to be very smiley and outgoing and kind. But in those situations, you really cannot. You just honestly cannot, because once again, they see that as weakness and they see that they feel like they could take advantage of you. So you just gotta be rude and put on your RBF, resting B face, and that's what you gotta do. And then lastly, a couple like smaller tips is never to say that you're alone with those people. You just have to lie and say, oh, I'm meeting up with a group of friends, or oh no, my boyfriend is at the hotel, or something like that is very, very useful. And sometimes it's to the extent where you can even wear a fake wedding ring. You could, you know, anything like that really, really helps. So once again, I wrote a detailed blog about the ways to deal with it. It's down in the description box. I just wanted this vlog to be more about my experiences and explaining why it happens and just preparing you for what could happen. And once again, this will happen in the countries where culturally women and men are not treated equally. So just know that you traveling anywhere in the world, this is not just gonna happen. I've had amazing experiences in places like Thailand, Indonesia, Taiwan, Europe. Those places I've had great experiences, but just know that there's some other places where you might not. So I hope this really helps you out. And also, if you have faced harassment while traveling, I want to know. Put it down in the comment section. I want to hear your stories. Let me know if you've ever faced harassment and where. And thank you so much for watching this vlog. Give this vlog a big thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.